1 week before the shooting started, and East Timor's ruling Fretilin party is holding its second Congress. Most of the delegates here played a role in the clandestine struggle against the Indonesian occupation. The Fretilin brand name is so strong that control of the party means control of East Timor. Prime Minister Mari Alkatiri is one of the party's founding members. He's Secretary General of Fretilin, but his grip might be slipping. Alkatiri hopes to be elected to another 5-year term, but I'm here because rumours are swirling that he's going to be dumped.
To welcome the members of the Congress, the participants of the Congress, members of the National Parliament.
Despite hundreds of rebel soldiers in the hills outside Dili demanding his resignation, the Prime Minister seems confident on the first day of the Congress. You must be feeling a little bit worried about your future in Fretilin.
Never be worried.
No?
Never.
Where do you get your confidence from?
From the people.
Yeah?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
I'm here because I was elected by the people.
But Mari Alkatiri is more of a man of the party than a man of the people. He hasn't spent a lot of time amongst his people since the 1970s. After the Indonesian invasion of East Timor, he lived in what was then communist Mozambique. That's their ambassador he's talking to. There's also a representative here from the Communist Party of Portugal. The only other ambassadors here are from China, chasing business and influence, and Cuba. That's Castro's man in the blue, working the floor, winning hearts with Cuban t-shirts. The contest for control of Fretilin is a battle between the party's left-wing anti-colonial faction and those who are more pro-Western. Mari Alkatiri's challenger for Fretilin Secretary General is José Luis Guterres, East Timor's ambassador to the United States. Morning, sir.
Hi, how are you today?
How are you?
Morning.
Looking forward to this?
Yes. It's important for the country, for the people, and for my party.
And what are we expecting? Any
Well,
drama? Fighting, drama?
No. It's a normal competition between between parties, and I believe that we will do our best to guarantee that everything will be peaceful.
On his right is running mate George Teme, the former ambassador to Australia. Both Australia and America have a strong interest in who rules East Timor. Alkatiri drove a hard bargain with Australia over rights to oil and gas in the Timor Gap, and he's refused loans from the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. The revolutionary left clearly has the numbers here. But East Timor was already dividing, although there were no signs of it here. Almost a third of the country's armed forces had rebelled against the government, yet the Congress revolved around small points of procedure.
O enhira cada artigo ida, lá a proposta de alteração, deliberação, emendação e a mesa, lá bele loca inscrição. E dene ursida halo ami hoto tamre que direito at qualia, ita nunca resolve o problema.
Privately, delegates accused Alkatiri of ignoring the brewing crisis. Publicly, he was being undermined by his foreign minister, José Ramos Horta, a darling of the West.
He's obviously not the best communicator. I'm not saying with the international media, even with our own people in the country. He is not the best communicator with opposition. In 4 years now, he has not met with the opposition. So that contribute to his poor popular image.
So how was the first day?
I'm telling you that I will talk on the last day.
Watching the current ambassador to Australia partying at the end of the first day, you would never guess that the government was facing its biggest crisis since independence. The first sign of trouble was in March, when almost 600 soldiers went on strike. All were from the Loromonu people, the ethnic group based in the west of this tiny country. And they complained that promotions always went to Lorosai soldiers from the east. They were sacked by Prime Minister Alkatiri, and on April the 24th, they marched on Dili to appeal directly to the president, Xanana Gusmão.
Para resolver o problema, a minha neve, yalaram lima ne yalaram. Kar que yalaram lima ne yalaram ne mak, la ia solução ba a minha problema ne.
The 591 rebel soldiers are led by a former lieutenant, Gastão Salsinha.
Segundo, ame pronto simo mate para defender a justiça na terra.
The protest was then hijacked by youths from the west who supported the rebel soldiers. They trashed market stalls run by women from the east, raising the ugly spectre of ethnic division for the first time since the Civil War of 1975. The rebel soldiers did try to stop them. It's still unclear whether or not someone else was giving orders to the mob.
Agora ita ia anuing ita para atu depois ita bel controla mal.
Despite their best efforts, the rebel soldiers failed to stop their supporters from rioting again. On April the 28th, police opened fire outside the government offices, killing 5. The rebel soldiers and their supporters retreated to the suburb of Tasitolo on the outskirts of the capital. The Prime Minister then took an extraordinary step, calling out the army, who sealed off the area. Shooting was heard for 2 days, and dozens of houses were burnt to the ground. The rebels accused the army of killing 60 people. On the 28th of April, after fighting all around Dili, and in particular down here in Tasitolo, President Xanana Gusmão came here in the middle of the night, tried to get down here to find out what was happening, but was stopped at a roadblock set up by the FFDTL, the Defence Force. Now, he's their supreme commander, and they didn't let him pass. So this was the first challenge to presidential authority during this crisis. There have been reports of tension between the Prime Minister and the President for several years. Foreign Minister José Ramos Horta, a key ally of the President, told me Alkatiri's decision to call out the army was unconstitutional.
That's true. The decision was made by the Prime Minister without prior consultation and agreement with the President.
Well, that's very, very serious, isn't it?
I believe so, but the Prime Minister had his reasons, an emergency situation. He was not able to get in touch with the President, but still, I believe that if he was not able to reach the President on the phone, there was a real breakdown of the phone system. it wouldn't be too difficult to get into the car and go to the president's office.
But have you spoken to the president about it? He must be very upset or annoyed or angry about this.
He is rightly upset. He is rightly wounded that he was not consulted, and that was not the first time. The president was upset also that his opinion was not listened to when the Minister of Defense fired the almost 600 soldiers.
With the Prime Minister and Army Command accused of a massacre in Tasitolo, revenge attacks against government forces were inevitable. It's the 8th of May, and government offices are under attack in Ermera, the rebel base in the west of the country. This is the same mob who trashed Dili 10 days ago, and they've just heard the Prime Minister has sent an envoy here. But the real targets of their anger are the 6 Eastern policemen he brought with him. Inside the building, the 6 policemen hide in the bathroom. The policeman on the left would soon be dead.
Temos aqui a presença do seu padre pároco de Ermera, padre Adriano, também estamos aqui. Mas temos todos já partidos, os carros todos partidos, os carros da UIR que vieram connosco todos partidos, os vídeos aqui todos partidos, estamos agora a fazer negociações, mas não há mesmo, estamos entre a vida e a morte.
The rebel soldiers send someone to negotiate.
Tamba ser sente feridos. Serenema mate, barak mate inocente, secretário mais vale o inimigo.
Los inimigos. Autete primeiro-ministro magdihan lori hau mai tamba rona ni governo takka kan tão senhor direito né fata. Nega agora né pronto ele né série né sala pronta ao serviço.
A deal is brokered to get the 6 policemen out safely. They hand their guns to the police commander, a Westerner. Rocks are thrown as the policemen are bundled into a waiting car. 2 of the men fall from the car and are stabbed. One dies and the other is seriously injured. This was a clear sign that ethnic tensions were out of control and that security forces were dividing along ethnic lines. While the Fretilin Congress discussed points of order, I travelled to Ermera to meet the leader of the rebel soldiers. The rebels' campaign is clearly popular here. With his base overflowing with gifts from sympathetic locals, Lieutenant Salsinia tells me he's calling for an investigation into what happened in Tasitolo.
Untuk sama pemerintah untuk cepat menyelesaikan masalah yang terjadi tanggal 28 itu karena sudah banyak pembunuhan, sudah banyak korban. Ya.
Salsinia warned that if this was not done, there would be more trouble.
Kerusuhan kita tidak mau, memang kita janji itu kita tidak mau. Ya. Karena negara sudah merdeka hanya sekali, bukan 2 kali. Ya. Karena banyak orang yang korban nyawa untuk sampai sekarang kita mencapai kemerdekaan. Jadi itu kita tidak mau, kita tidak sama sekali tidak ingin untuk orang masyarakat korban lagi. Ya. Jadi kita tetap tuntut sama pemerintah untuk bisa mengatasi situasi yang sekarang boleh katakan situasi gawat. Ya. Ya.
Unfortunately, no one seemed to be listening. Like Prime Minister Alkatiri, but perhaps for different reasons, Foreign Minister José Ramos Horta was still playing down the crisis.
This is, after all, is a country of only 4 years old, so not surprising that as we emerge from the past, we face hurdles, hiccups along the way. What is necessary is that our government shows more humility and engage more in dialogue with everybody and anyone who come forward with complaints, with criticism.
On the second day of the Fretilin Congress, Ramos Horta is a surprise visitor. As a founding member, he gets a warm welcome, even though he left the party 15 years ago. Ramos Horta likes to say he has no further political ambitions, but he can't resist a joke at Alkatiri's expense.
Se é momento de ver, ita pode ir a Tuhili, delegação, Comitê Central, se há o belefo hanya opinião calai. Se há o beltau hanya naramos candidato a secretário-geral calai. Balong acusa hau hakar kadau fali Kofi Anania cadeira.
A few weeks later, with Alkatiri now accused of trying to murder his opponents, Horta again offered to take his place. This time, he was serious. Today, Fretilin delegates are preparing to vote on whether to have a secret or an open ballot for the party leadership. Mari Alkatiri's supporters want a show of hands. That way, they'll know exactly who is for and against the Secretary-General.
Tambah realidade ni veio tudo que anda kata dalam bara kami fot sabai ema balum bele odi fali amin ema ka aula aceita idane thank you voto secreto obrigado.
The challenger, José Luis Guterres, believes Alkatiri is trying to orchestrate an open ballot in order to intimidate the opposition.
The question is that some people have told me that some are afraid of showing their vote because many of them are some of them are working as a civil servants, and so they are afraid to being sacked if in the Congress they vote differently than today's President and Secretary General.
Pulong 74 hawi segunda classe amin Dili aminia chefe kelas Fretilin. Mas democracia milênio midane dita ita buat ida diferente. Não, silêncio, depois da intervenção não vai estar a votação.
When it's decided to have a show of hands, everyone knows Alkatiri will win, and José Luis Guterres withdraws from the race. Congratulations, Secretary General.
Why?
Because
just we are close to the end, but still we are not in the end.
But isn't it a done deal now that you will be Secretary General again? Because there is no opposition candidate now?
It's very unfortunate. I would like to have another pool.
Another what?
Another to apply for.
You mean you would like to have an opposition candidate?
Of course.
Why is that?
It's a democracy.
Mm-hmm. So is it a bad thing for democracy that there is no opposition candidate?
Not at all, but it will be better if you can really go until the end. When you decided to go, you have to really keep going until the end.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dave. With the challengers' chairs now empty, it appears Mari Alkatiri has outmaneuvered his opponents once more.
Camaradas, tira voto sim, voto secreto e dá voto secreto. Se matar o voto braço no ar, estava saída. Estava até a hora da barra aqui na barra. A tu usa awesome para só votos. Ao cara que até tudo. House já gasta 2 dias para só votos.
When it was time for the vote, the delegates of all 13 districts stood to be counted, and it was soon clear that Alkatiri and his running mate had won almost unanimous support. The attempt to dislodge him peacefully had failed, but the celebrations were short-lived. 4 days later, I was with the rebel soldiers when they fired on government troops. Mari Alkatiri accuses his unnamed enemies of mounting a coup against him. There is no hard evidence to back up his claim. But if someone wanted to get rid of Alkatiri, they couldn't have planned things better. The President's power and influence has grown, and the Prime Minister faces daily charges of conspiracy to murder his opponents.